Alright, today we got a Titan 840 that customer said quit pumping. The machine was running but it wouldn't pick any material up. Took the machine apart, come to find out their T-pin had shattered on the top of their piston. So we're going to show you how to replace the piston and packings on a Titan 840. Before we get started, main thing you want to do is be safe. Wear your safety glasses, unplug everything, make sure the pressure is released off the machine before you try to do anything to it so you don't hurt yourself. First and foremost is safety. Alright, once we've got all of that done, I went ahead and took this apart. Take your face plate off here. You'll take your piston connecting rod, which is located here, and you're going to pry it down with a pry bar of some sort. You're just going to push the connecting rod down. Unscrew the lock nut on your fluid section. You're going to disconnect your pressure hose from the back of the pump here. Unscrew everything until it drops down. You're going to have to pry down on it because you're going to have to work the piston up. In this case, the piston's broke, so I didn't have to worry about that. But you want to run this all the way down until it comes off. When you get it apart, you'll unscrew the fluid section here, and then you'll unscrew the inlet housing from the body of the fluid section. You've got it apart here. We're going to take it over to the workbench, and now we're going to take the rest of this apart and replace the piston and the packings. Alright, we're over here at the workbench. I've got the upper section of the fluid pump here in a vise. To hold it steady, I'm going to remove the packing nut, which is located here. It holds the upper packing down inside of the fluid section. We're going to release the pressure off of the packing so the piston will be easier to push out. Use a wrench, use an adjustable here. It doesn't take much. You'll unloose the packing nut, pull it all the way off. Once you got the packing nut out, you'll be able to take and tap your piston out. Now if you're saving your piston, if your piston is good, you're just replacing the packings. You want to make sure that the piston don't fall directly to the floor and damage it. Tap it through, and your piston comes out. Now don't throw this into trash because you got to save what's on the inside of your piston because you're going to reuse it on your new piston. Alright, piston's removed, and like I said, we've got to save the outlet valve setup that's in the piston because we're going to use it in our new piston. This is our new piston. You see when it comes, it doesn't have anything on the inside of the piston. That's what it should look like. That's what his looks like. Now under normal circumstances, when you're taking a machine apart, you want to actually wipe the piston off. And you want to take a look at the piston and see the condition of the piston. In this case, it don't really matter because we're going to replace it anyway because that was the original problem. So what you want to do is you want to look around the piston, look for any vertical scratching or scarring on the piston. If you were just replacing the packings, that's what you want to look for, because if you see any kind of wear or damage on the piston, then you want to replace the piston as well. It would be completely pointless putting packings in and using your old piston when you have any scratching on it. And it's going to be difficult to see on the camera, but I already see right here there's some vertical pressure cutting that's starting to occur. So this would have to be replaced under normal circumstances anyway. Now the packings that are in it may be okay, but I'm not going to put a new piston in with an old set of packings. That'd be like putting in a new piston and rings in your engine and not honing out the cylinder. You want to make sure everything's nice and fresh on the inside. Now your piston, you can get it directly from Titan, or I buy my parts sometimes from Bedford, and that's the only aftermarket company that I use. They're made in America, good quality with a warranty. Never had an issue with their stuff that they didn't stand behind. Your part number for the 840 for the piston is 805-437A, and then your packings, that's the Titan packings is what I'm using here, and it's part number 805-1010. Packets will come packaged just like you see here. Everything you need is on the inside. There's going to be a few items in here that you're not going to need, so don't stress out if you got parts left over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the piston apart and put everything that I need that's going to be in my new packing kit and out of the piston itself. I'm going to the seat and the retaining valve here is going to go in your new piston. So I'm going to switch everything over, and then we'll begin taking the packings out and putting it all back together. Alright, I've pulled the outlet valve out of the piston, and as you see, it's out. It's an Allen head or a hex wrench setup that you would just unscrew this out of the piston. And the old one's not a big deal. You just stick it in a vise, it doesn't matter. Unscrew it out. When you put the new one in, be careful that you don't scratch your piston. So you want to hold it in a vise on the T-end. Don't put too much pressure because you don't want to shatter it. But you want to hold it on the end so that you can tighten this back up once you get it together. And once you take it out, there's going to be a translucent ring that sits around. You'll pull that off. Take you a pair of needle nose, reach in, pull your ball cage out. That's your ball cage. You're going to reuse this. On the inside, it's going to be another translucent ring, just like so. That's a gasket that goes in there. Then there's your ball, and everything in here is going to stay. You'll take your old ball, throw it away. Throw it in a slingshot, whatever you want to do. You'll take your new ball, drop it in. You'll take you'll have two translucent style O-rings, like you see here. You got a small one and a large one. The small one goes in around the ball cage goes back in. Once the ball cage is in, there's another O-ring. You'll stick back on top of it like so. You take it, insert it just like that, O-ring side first, screw it together. Like that. Then you're going to stick an Allen wrench in and tighten this up, and you're ready to go to your packings. Alright, we've got our piston back together. It's nice and tight. Put it out of the way so it don't get damaged. I like to stick it here in my pocket so I don't have to worry about it getting damaged while I'm knocking stuff around. So now we want to remove our packings from the top and bottom of our fluid section. I like to use just a flathead screwdriver is fine. And what you want to do is stick it in from the bottom side. You'll see it'll come out of the top here. And then you'll lay it across the packings. Now be careful so you don't scratch the inside with your screwdriver. It's not going to take much force to do this. But you'll drop it down, pressing against the side until it clicks like that off the lip of the packing. Then you just push up, or you can tap it up like that. Your packings will pop right out. You want to do the same thing from the top down. You'll stick it on the inside, push it till it touches on the packing on the inside, and then just tap it until the packing comes out. And it just fell out of the bottom. So we're empty on packings now. You have to take a tool, look on the inside, clean out any residue of paint. You don't want to put that underneath your packings. That can cause an issue later. So you want to make sure you're no buildup of paint on the inside. Now you're ready to put your packings in. Put your fluid section back in the vise. There's your packings. That's your upper packing. Take and clean the inside of your packing nut. Sometimes there's a residue of paint on the inside. Clean it out. That's your packing nut. Alright, so there's two pieces that are going to go into the top. You didn't notice it probably when it popped out of the top. You may have noticed it, but there's two pieces that fall out. The first item that you're going to put in is going to be your upper packing. Now it may come with the plastic insert here. It may not come with it. It may come packed with grease. It may not. Depends on where you buy it from. If it doesn't have grease, pack it with grease, or once you get it apart out of the plastic retainer, fill the inside with grease, cover the outside with grease. And I don't know if you can tell, but this side has a lip on it, this side does not. You can see the O-ring is closer to one side of the edge than the other. If you'll look on the inside and you feel it with your finger, the packings are in layers, and there's lips that point down. They point towards the raised area on the outside of the packet. Those need to point down into the fluid section. So you'll set it in place, just set it in there nice and even. And you're going to take your spacer here, and you're going to put that on top of it, and you'll see how you may be able to see it, you may not be able to see. It's wider on one side than the other. The wide side goes up. Put that in, take your packing nut, begin screwing it down. Now you're actually using your packing nut to press your packing down in place. Do it hand tight. Once you get it hand tight, take your wrench and tighten it back up. Real slow and easy. Alright, don't tighten it too tight. You just want to make sure it's pressed down into place. Now it's pressed down. Now we're going to do our bottom packing. Take your fluid section out. Lock it back into vise. And you're going to take your lower packing. Here's your lower packing. It's pretty easy to identify because one's bigger and one's smaller. If the packing falls into the hole, it's in the wrong place. The other packing is too big to get into the hole and it's in the wrong place. Take your retainer out. Same scenario here. You have a raised area on one side and you don't on the other. It's not as prominent. And the lips on the inside of the packing all face down towards the higher side. The higher side goes in first. Place that in the hole. Once you got it in the hole, set your fluid section or the inlet valve on top of it. Press it down, wiggle it back and forth until you'll feel it pop down into place. When you do, begin tightening your fluid section, your inlet housing, down onto the body of the pump itself. Grab your wrench. Now this one you want to tighten it all the way up, full tight. Once you got it tight, you'll loosen it back up. Take it back off. We got to put our piston in there. But you want to do that after you get it all the way down, seated in place. Alright. Your piston is tapered right in here. So that way when you insert it, it should go through your upper packing without an issue. I still like to lubricate it to make sure I don't have any drag on it, because you don't want to damage the packings putting it back together. Some people will use the cap, use that to help insert it and feed it through. Most of the time I don't, but I'm going to show you how to do it here. Otherwise, what I would normally do is put it in, wiggle it, feed it down through the packings, and once I've got it down through there, then I'll press it all the way down to the other side. If you put this on, this will help eliminate the possibility to a large degree of damage in the packing. You put it in, force it down like that. That's all there is to it. Push it down. You take your old piston, because you want to bring your piston down flush with the packing on the inside. So tap it, look. Alright. You can leave it up slightly, it's fine. It does not have to be flush, but you want to bring it down. That way when you put it back together, the piston's up high enough, it will lock into the T on your pump. So the fluid section itself is done now. We're going to move over to the inlet housing. Alright, got our inlet housing set up here in the vise. Lock it in place. In the top end here, there's a retaining ring, a spacing ring. Pull that out. You'll get a new one of those in your packings. You're going to remove this section here. Now you've also got a couple of O-rings here. We'll go ahead and put the new ones on. You got a split ring and a rubber O-ring. If these are bad, what will happen is it'll suck air through here. When it sucks air through here, the machine won't pick your paint up as well. Put your white one on first, it goes to the bottom. Put your black one on. And the white ring is supposed to be split, so don't let that worry you. Alright. So now, we take off the inlet housing. We got that off, we'll just set that to the side. And we're going to take a pair of needle nose, and that's what the inside looks like. There's a ball in there. That's a ball cage, and there's a ball in there. So what you want to do is remove this ball cage. Sometimes, if it hadn't been taken apart in a long time, it can be very difficult to get apart. I like to take needle nose and I'll stick them in here, and that gives me somewhere to twist, to work it back and forth to get it loose. Once you've got it loose, pull it up and out. Sometimes they don't want to come out or move. If that's the case, get you a torch and heat it up through here. That'll help soften up the paint on the inside. Once you've got it heated up good, you can put your needle nose in there and work it back and forth to take it out like I just did. There's the old ball. Drop that in the trash. Blow out any trash you got in there. On the inside you see that black, looks like a washer in the center. That's called the carbide seat. And that's very important. Without that, this machine will not work. If you happen to pull out a ball, it looks like this, with the ball scratched up, cut up, gnarled up, a lot of times that will mean that that carbide seat needs to be replaced. If you don't replace it, the machine will work for a period of time, and then the ball is going to do the same thing, and you're going to be back in the same boat where your machine's not wanting to hold pressure. It'll build pressure, and then when it goes to stop, it'll and it won't maintain. It'll just keep wanting to run, and that can be due to that lower ball. So now you got your old ball out. You want to drop your new ball in. Take your ball cage. You're going to set it in, push it back down into place. And you got a set of O-rings here as well, just like you had on top. So we're going to pull that out. There's your black one sitting on top. There's your white split ring on the bottom. Take your white split ring, put it on. Take your black one, put it on. Simple as that. Now you're going to take your inlet housing section. You'll put it all back together. Tight. The old spacer we took out. Here's the new one. Drops down in the hole. That's it. Take your fluid section, put it on top, and tighten it up. At this point, you want to make sure all your connections are good and tight. Want to make sure our packing nut is tight now. Alright. And the fluid section is done. So everything's back together, everything's tight, everything's been replaced. You got a new piston in place. So now we're going to reinstall it on the machine. Alright, we're back with the machine. We're ready to put everything back together. You're going to take your fluid section, the T, going to sit in the T of your connecting rod. It's hard to see on the camera. It just sits in place like that. And I like to take a spacer, put it underneath the fluid section, so that way you can use it to help push up on the fluid section to get the threads back into the machine. Be careful, don't press too hard, then you'll damage the threads. If you damage the threads, you got a whole another world of problems. A little downward pressure while you're rotating the fluid section. Okay, once you got your fluid section screwed back on, what you're going to do before you lock your locking nut, bring your hose up and around. Tighten it back up. Good and tight. Locking that around. Tap it on. Got the fluid section back on. Got the hose tight. Got the locking nut tight. Now we're going to put our cover back on. Alright, you're back together. Now what you want to do is go ahead and do a pressure check. Stick your bucket of water under here, open your prime valve, make sure you got water flowing through the system, turn your prime valve off, make sure it builds pressure. When it hits top pressure, let it sit. Make sure that you got no pressure leaks anywhere, because once it builds pressure and stops, it shouldn't keep running or periodically every 10 seconds or so stroke. It should stroke and then stop. A minute or so later, you may catch another piece of a stroke, but it shouldn't stroke frequently. If it continues to stroke somewhat frequently after you've done this, then you have a pressure leak somewhere and you need to address that. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. It's not terribly complicated. Now, by showing you how to do this, how to repack these pumps, I'm not condoning your complete avoidance of a certified technician looking at your equipment. When equipment comes into me, There's a variety of other things on the machine that I check. One, to ensure the machine is working properly, and two, to ensure your safety and everyone else's safety who happens to be around this machine. There is no substitute for a skilled eye looking at your equipment. Yes, you could save a little bit of money by repacking equipment yourself, but it does not substitute the experienced eye of a technician looking at your piece of equipment, not only for safety, not only to ensure that the repair was done correctly, but also to detect and avoid any other problems that may be occurring with the machine that will cause you a catastrophic failure later on. Please send any questions you've got directly to me. I try to respond to all the messages that I get, and I usually try to respond to them within 24 hours or less. I have no issue with any questions. If you got any problems, feel free to contact me. Other than that, y'all have a great day and be safe.